And 30 seconds.
And 30
Oh, okay. We get it.
And
Put it in
30
the wall
seconds.
clock.
We're gonna be doing balloons and bluegrass down in Florida. Oh, I can't wait for that. I can't wait for that. For Canada.
Okay. Well, we'll get this last bit of paperwork.
Oh,
See, ooh, warm, right off the,
yeah, really.
hot off the presses.
Okay. Go ahead and get started. We'll call to order this meeting of the City of Apache Junction Public Art Commission. It is December 13th at 5:31. We'll start with a Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag
flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, and we'll jump into the roll call.
Commissioner Klett,
Here.
Vice Chair Nicholas,
Here.
Commissioner Sperna,
Here.
Chair Byes,
Here.
Commissioner Danford,
Here.
Commissioner Ham.
Here.
Okay, Commissioner Ham is on a call-in. So we have all present, we have a quorum, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to the consent agenda, item 21-671, consideration of approval of agenda. Do we have a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the agenda as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
I second that.
Seconded by Mr. Danford.
Okay,
Mister?
so we have a motion to approve the consent agenda, which is the agenda and the minutes of November 8th. Vice Chair Nicholas,
Yes.
Commissioner Sperna,
Yes.
Chair Byes,
Yes.
Commissioner Danford,
Yes.
Commissioner Ham,
Yes.
Commissioner Klett.
Yes.
Vote is 6-0 in favor, Mr. Chair.
All right. Moving to the next item on the agenda here is old business. Item 21-667, presentation discussion on the following work plan items with Diane Kripe of Art Space 6 LLC and city staff, a draft of RFQ off-leash dog park.
So I'm curious as to what's here because I don't think we attached anything. I think I just handed it to you.
There was
Oh.
an attachment.
There was an
that came out,
attachment, yeah.
So that might be an old version, though.
47 pages.
Okay, so this is it, okay.
I think that, so it was there, which is good. The public was able to see. February 3rd. I know, so the one you have, so this is the latest version, and then the one I just handed out had blue line edits. So the major takeaway for tonight is that the one that you have, our goal is to have this out by January 15th. So you see where I scribbled in the 15th? And so then we would change the date here would be, this here on the screen would be February 15th-ish. We'll have to make sure it's on, a Thursday or whatever day we want at a certain time and things like that. So, but it is a draft, and so we wanted to have Joel and Liz from Parks and Diane and myself go through it. You're welcome to give us any edits over the next couple weeks, and we can fine-tune this thing. That was our goal over the next roughly 30 days and try to get it out on the street. Diane can answer any questions. It's been through once or twice by us. We incorporated Joel's comments. You'll see highlights in yellow that we still have to kind of sort out that with Joel, but it's probably 90% there. So Diane, I don't know if you wanted to, I think last time I kind of just gave a high-level overview of what's in here, but without getting into any specifics.
Do you have any questions? Are there any comments about, I think you've taken a look at the first version of this a while ago. So if you have any comments or questions, just let me know. I think it covers very thoroughly all the different responsibilities that are placed on the artist and also placed on the city. Other than that, does anybody have any comments?
Looks like y'all, one of the updates was the statement of qualifications evaluation criteria, so that was actually one of my talking points I wanted to ask about, because they all seemed kind of weighted, and then, I think on our version, it was items 3 and 4 seemed to kind of combine, but it looks like those were combined into a single line item as well, about, or maybe they were removed.
I think what we're gonna do is just combine those, so we had a little chart. So up above on page 11, if you look at the one, and I'll see if that's on this page 11. But
Yeah, and the version,
rather than have this in here twice, I think the goal was to delete this. And so again, maybe we're working from different versions, and we'll have to just date them. I think what I did was I deleted all this on page 11,
Put it somewhere.
and then the next page was to include
the table.
pretty much the exact same criteria, and then I just applied points to. So if you want to change the points, or this is just the way I thought the points ought to
Yeah.
go. It doesn't have to be 100, it can be 110 if you want to give more weight, it can be whatever you want.
Yeah, and on the version that's shared on the screen now, my comment here was just regarding items 3 and 4, which seem to be kind of a lot of overlap.
Looks like you fixed
And I think Diane may have recognized that. Is
I
that
think
your-
I deleted number 3 because at this stage, with just issuing it, we don't really know if the artist, that's not something that artist is going to supply in terms of information, and therefore the artist selection panel can't really judge that. They won't know if the artist is available or not, but during the contract phase, that would be a discussion with the artist to make sure that he or she is able to commit to doing the project. So I don't think number 3 will be on there. Number 7, we don't know until after the submittals if the artist has a track record of completing the work on time. And before the artist is offered a contract, there's going to be due diligence in talking to past commissioning agencies, which are usually cities. And part of what the artist has to submit is a list of references of usually cities that they've worked with to complete public art projects. And then before that artist is under contract, those references are going to be checked and then some.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
if I could ask Larry. So Larry, the version you handed out in paper is what we should be looking at, not
Yeah, I think
what's
that's
on
the most
screen.
recent version.
Yeah.
And I can email it to you so you have it,
That might be
because
helpful.
sometimes it's hard to edit in this.
Yeah, because the
edit
table that
format.
is here
Yeah,
is different than the one on page 11.
correct.
So it'd be the one that Larry hands out that if you want to look at again,
Yes.
we'd appreciate comments. Thank you.
So yeah, this one I handed out tonight has a date that has today's date on it.
So this is the latest and greatest.
That's the latest, and if you just want to mark it up and drop it off at the front counter, rather than give Diane, 5 or 6 different copies, I will collate all your comments into one document, and and Joel will do the same.
All right. And then my other question that I had was just let's see if it's still the same in here, with just the insurance requirement. I just wanted to confirm that
what page?
let me see if I can find it. I think it's on page 26. Yeah, that the insurance requirements are typical of professionals of this caliber.
Yes. And then the number 4, professional liability insurance, was deleted because that is not standard in the public art field. And they're already supplying other insurances that cover the city, that cover the artwork until it's delivered and the city accepts it and so forth. So, yeah, these insurances are pretty standard.
Okay. And then the yellow highlights, so for example, on page 29, we'll look for those to be
32.
provided by city staff prior to the, I guess, the 15th final version.
Yep.
All right, so if we do have comments, I think our next meeting, the second Monday of January, will be just prior to the 15th, so we would need any comments during that meeting before it's finalized.
Well, I think that's a way to establish a deadline. And that is a good deadline, but I think if you could get them to us by the 1st or the 2nd, that would be better.
Right, and we would just-
Because again, I think if you're comfortable, if this, you know that Joel's going through it and everybody on this end, and I don't think it takes a motion for you to approve it, so I think it's just, you know, is this gonna work for us? And so I think if you get it to us by the 2nd, any comments you have, then we can make sure it's, you know, out there on the street. Somewhere, again, depending on the day of the week, 14th, 15th, 16th, I don't have a calendar in front of me, I don't even know what day of the week the 15th is, but everybody's gonna get 30 days to respond.
Okay.
So it's just, we gotta get the ad in the paper, and we wanna make sure that that has decent circulation, but mostly we're gonna be advertising on other sites anyway, but
Okay.
I think let's just say that, stay up all night on New Year's Eve and read it and get it to us on the,
Yeah, I'll make sure I do that.
Yeah.
get it to us on the 2nd. If that's okay, Mr. Chair, I think that
I-
keeps
I-
things moving along.
Get out of the way.
I have a question.
Sure.
On the first page, where it's talking about, after completing the City of Apache Junction requirements, artists will complete their submittals. Now, they mentioned cafe, I think we're gonna go on cafe. But you said we're also gonna advertise in the newspaper?
We're gonna put this out on the newspaper. It is over $50,000, although it's, so
because then
this ad goes in, this legal ad goes in the newspaper.
Okay,
It tells people where to go to our city website to download this RFQ document, but they're gonna submit it on
Through
the other
Cafe.
end from Cafe.
okay,
So that's why the instructions, we wanna make sure are very clear that they have to go register on our site. And that's why we're also gonna post it on these other websites of where, how to go find the link to go download it. So you download this, but then you submit it through the Cafe
gotcha.
process website.
And it'll also
Portal.
go on the Arizona Commission on the Arts website
Okay.
for artist opportunities.
And we may list that too. I mean, I don't think it hurts to say where this thing is
I mean,
being.
I know if you enter through Cafe, you apply right through their website, which I've done it many times myself. But the other site that you mentioned, can you apply right through their site as well?
No, it would just be, it's a free advertisement of the project to artists. The Arizona Commission on the Arts, they list all these artist opportunities, whether it's a festival or public art or whatever it is, or gallery, exhibition, and they list them all, and then they just give a website to go to.
And then they'll direct them to Cafe, okay, gotcha.
So yes, anywhere we advertise, we have to make sure it's clear that they download this document from the city website, but they submit whatever their qualifications are through the Cafe portal.
So I think the way it's going to go is that, you know, the city has its own portal, the city has its own procurement policy, and the artist has to submit everything that's necessary that's listed here to become a vendor for the city of Apache Junction. So they have to do that, and at the same time, they'll be given a website for Cafe. But they have to do both. I don't think
Okay.
they can circumvent. They have to submit, I think it's like a W-9 or something.
Well, if whoever we finally pick, that's who does that, because we'll enter into a contract, they'll become a vendor. That's later on down the road. Once, if they send us an invoice, pardon me?
But they have to register with the city?
I don't know that you need a W-9 to sign up for just the,
Not to sign
no.
up.
Not to sign
All
up
that's
today.
for really is downloading this document. So you go on, I think I pulled up the city website last time. So that is on our purchasing page on our website. And it's I don't know if it's Civic something, probably, that that's the public purchase is the procurement site. You go in there, you register. and able to download this document, you have to register. That way we know who's doing it, when they pulled it down. That way if, 6 of 10 have all the same question, they can submit questions in theory to that, and then we can do an amendment if we have to. But then once February 15-ish rolls around, they have to submit through Cafe. But I think it won't be till later that we need a W-9 when we sign a contract and things like that.
Yeah.
So you can just mark it up with whatever color you like, and then and just bring them to the counter, or scan it, PDF it, whatever's easy for you, or call me on the phone and I can go through them with you, whatever works for you.
All right. Any other questions or comments regarding the draft RFQ? Exciting, getting close to seeing this thing hit the streets. All right, thanks so much, Diane. With that, I guess we'll move on to new business, or is there additional items within old business? All right, so we'll move on to discussion and selection of the artist selection committee. Selection of the selection committee.
Thank you.
And maybe we'll give everybody, oh, I'm sorry, Jared, you don't have one of these, but I just handed out, and I can send it to you, but we'll give everybody a minute to read it. I don't know if we pulled it even up, Joel, on that viewer thing, if he wouldn't be able to see it either. So we'll get it to you. So if I give everybody, 3-4 minutes or whatever, speed readers, I think it'll be easier if you read the whole thing, and then we'll come back and talk about it, so. But essentially what we did, Jared, was put together the process for how we're gonna do the public art selection panel, how we pick the public artist. There'll be more to this once we do pick them, but this is just who's gonna be on the committee, how does it work?
I look forward to reading that document as soon as you guys can get it to me.
Okay. I don't have this version in the email. Oh, I have your version in the email.
Or you can, if somebody wants to take a photo and
Oh.
send it by phone or something?
I could scan it in right now.
Okay.
If you'd like me to do that.
I made edits from what you sent me this morning.
Okay,
But I could forward it to Jared without those edits, if you give me a minute. You can talk, but I'll just forward it to him. I had a couple changes to your version.
okay.
We'll give Larry a few more minutes here.
Yeah, 'cause I have a question.
Okay, Jared, I sent that to you. The only change to that is the $250 stipend. Diane and I talked about that, and so I think that's the only change I made to Diane's version. So,
Okay.
wherever you want to start, Mr. Chair.
Sure. Well, we've all had a chance to read it, I think, at this point. So I guess we'll start we can just kind of break it down real quick and go section by section. Budget of approximately $50,000, panel of 5 individuals made up of commission members, Community Parks and Recreation Department. Seems pretty straightforward. The next paragraph identifying each project will be project specific, so these panels will be independently created for each project as we get to them. Serve until artist is selected, be able to speak intelligently and candidly, no conflicts of interest, must sign a form. And then local public art professionals and local professional artists receive $250 stipend for participation in selection process. So any comments or questions kind of on
I have a question.
information laid out there?
I'm just reading further down. On item number 2, it says one public art professional who works in the Phoenix area. Fine. Then you get to number 4, and it says one local professional artist. How are we defining local? Is it the same as on number 2?
I saw it a little differently. One public art professional who works in Phoenix, to me, is they could be working in the arts, they could be a gallery person, they could be an organizer, they could work for a nonprofit or something like that. Whereas one local professional artist is someone who's actually creating art.
Well, that's
the
not
way
what,
I saw
that's
it.
not my question. My question is, how are we determining local on item 4?
Oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood you.
That's an excellent question, and I would just take cues from all of you. If you feel that there is an artist in the Apache Junction, city or close to Apache Junction that you would recommend, then I would suggest that you suggest artists to be on the panel.
So you could say East Valley, that would narrow it down to Mesa, Queen Creek, AJ, Gold Canyon kind of thing. So if you want to say East Valley. I think
Well, if we're asking for art professionals from the Phoenix area, why not just ask for artists from the Phoenix area?
That'd be
Cast a wide net.
fine. Sometimes cities like to have local artists meeting within their city boundaries or close to, like East Valley versus Phoenix in general. It's really up to all of you. If it's somebody who's defined as an artist based on what's listed here, either they've done public art projects or they've been in exhibitions or they're represented by a gallery, then that person would be qualified to be that particular member, number 4. So it's up to what, I would like to get input from you all.
I think you should explain what a public art professional and some ideas of who you have in mind, someone who has been involved in the installation of public art.
Yeah.
So that's not necessarily an artist, could be a landscape architect, could be someone else, but they've been involved in the installation process, whereas the artist is someone who is a, visual artist of some sort.
Yeah,
So-
number 2 is somebody specific to the public art field. So there are a number of public art professionals in the Valley, and I can reach out to them. I know a couple of them who have retired in the last year or so, who have an extensive history in being a public art project manager and serving on other cities' panels. But what they'll do is, as a panelist, look at the artist and, recommend if they think that the artist can create a work that is site-specific, is durable, it does not present a hazard to the public, they're going to look at it in slightly different eyes than a local artist. A local artist is going to look and say, wow, this artist can do wonderful work. But a public artist, professional on the same panel is going to say, they do wonderful work, can this translate to a public place? So it's really important to have somebody with that expertise and who can also look at the slides that are being offered by the images offered by the artist, and say, I've seen that person's work. They can actually say if they've worked with a specific artist, since this is probably going to be a call limited to certain states within this area, and they're going to be familiar with people who are applying for this. So they're going to be offering some very valuable insights.
Are we going to require that this committee meet in person? That's another question, because again, if you cast it too far afield, the people are going to have to understand, they're going to have to come to Apache Junction, which, some people think is the end of the world, especially if they're from Phoenix.
It's not.
That's an excellent question.
And that's where the stipend, I think, comes in a little bit, and we can adjust the stipend, but yes, I think we would have to meet in person. As they get to the short list, or however they want to do it,
Right.
they would have to meet in
So
person.
they just have to, it has to be clear to them that yes, you are going to have to attend meetings in Apache Junction.
There are a number of ways to do this. Because of CAFE, there's flexibility. There could be, the first meeting could be an online meeting. Doesn't have to be, in person is also valuable. Some cities, because of COVID, have just started doing online artist selection panels. But when it comes, if there's a finalist, if you have 3 finalists that are from the first meeting designated, and then those 3 finalists have a few weeks to go off and come up with concepts and then present them, it's better to do that in person.
Oh, sure.
So there's a lot of flexibility there.
So we need to think about that.
Mr.
Yeah.
Chair,
Yes, sir.
this is the first time I've seen this document. I'd probably add to the conflicts of interest form a political activities form also, because we're coming up into a strange election in 2022. Also, the stipend, I don't know where the money's coming from. And that's up to Diane to recommend that. The dollar amount, I'd be careful with that. None of you are paid. So why would a subcommittee basically of your process get paid? But that's up to you. That's a policy decision. And those are the comments I have so far.
Okay, it's customary for, cities sometimes offer honorarium or stipends, sometimes they don't, but when they do offer a stipend, in general, people who are current members of an art commission are considered in their volunteer role as volunteering to serve on an artist selection panel. So that's why it's usually designated for someone who's brought on the panel, who's not already vested in the city of Apache Junction and already serving on an art commission.
So that's why I limited it to just 2 and 4.
Yeah, I
So
don't have a
if you're
problem.
an outside public art professional or a local professional artist, because if you're in number 1 category, it's one of you. If you're in the number 3 category, it could be a city staff person, or it could be a member of the Park and Recreation Commission, or there also is a dog park committee, I think it's called. So that's why I limited to just, so the most it's gonna cost us is the 500.
Well, so.
We can call it an honorarium or stipend, or I don't know, whatever, if it matters. No, I understand what Joel's saying is, but if we're having somebody from Glendale drive all the way out to Apache Junction to be, give us, 5, 10, 15 hours of their time, I think.
Well, and the intent is to attract a candidate for the selection panel that would have professional qualifications that would, be able to bring those to bear as part of their selection process. So, that.
As far as funding, I guess we have to double check that, whether that can come out of our revenue that we have that developers have submitted or just comes out of our operating budget, but we also have expenses that we have to pay for to put the newspaper ad in the paper. We have to pay for this cafe, which I think was gonna end up being around $600. So there's like a license fee, and then there's a per project fee, and then we have to pay $2 per artist. Every time an artist submits, we pay $2. So all told, we could be looking at, $1,500 to go through this whole process. So, but I think, what was the other one called, Joel? A political activities form?
Yeah, I have a
Here
have
it
a
is.
clause that I could use.
Yeah, there's actually a clause on page 32 of the RFQ
Okay,
Yeah,
that's similar.
yep. Okay, well, we can put that in this, this was what we were hoping is just a guiding document, so you could see on one page. Until now, it's just like, hey, we're gonna create this artist selection panel. This kind of finally puts it on paper as to how it's gonna work. How you, 6, decide which 2 of 6, we're just certainly gonna leave that up to you. You can have long straws, short straws, whatever it may be, but this committee will have 2, and you can
And
fight over it or something.
question, and there's no conflict then for those 2 committee members to get that stipend?
No, they don't get a
The
The
stipend.
stipend would only
don't get-
apply to the
Only to
art
the-
professional and the local professional.
Correct. Yeah, because you're volunteers, and it's really just any
What I thought.
outsiders we would bring in, or that are from not already in a capacity with the city.
So one thing that I would just like to point out is, I mean, we have the stipend the same amount for the public art professional in the greater Phoenix area, which we're, understandably casting a broad net to, attract some significant professional interest there. Number 4, back to the discussion on what is the definition of local. If the stipends are the same, I would presume that we would cast a similar net to try to get the caliber of artists similar to what we're hoping for with the public art professional.
Again, it's up to you. If you want someone that kind of knows us better, then I would say East Valley. There's 500,000 people in Mesa. Then you start adding Gilbert, Chandler, you're still got a pool of about 1 million people or more to look from. So I don't think we have to say Phoenix area. If you want to say East Valley, they may know more about us than someone in Litchfield Park or something.
Out of that
Or-
million people.
Doesn't matter to me, whatever you want,
I
but
don't have a problem with the number 4 saying Phoenix area as well.
Yeah.
I mean,
Me too.
I tend to think you're probably only going to get people from the East Valley, but you never know.
okay.
I think if the stipend's the same, the qualification should be the same in their category.
Okay.
All right. So just to run through the remainder of this real quickly. So number 1, 2 current or former members. We're all current members at the moment, so we'll determine that prior to the meeting. Is there a certain timeline that we need to have that selected? I assume we have a little bit of a runway to figure out how we'll pick from us on who will be the members there.
I would say do it at the January meeting. If you're ready, we can have it as an agenda item. If you want to have it as an agenda item, or no later, I think, than the meeting in February, which would be like 2 days before the 15th, somewhere in there.
Yeah, I have no objections to next meeting. We can we can see if there's any volunteers, and if not, bring some straws with us.
January 10th.
Bring
That's
some
January 10th.
This is just,
January 10th?
Yes.
Okay.
this is just a question, and I'm not really, care about it either way, but do you think in our advertisement for the arts professionals, we should mention the timeline that they need to be available? Because we're asking for these by February 15th. You're going to need to be available in this timeframe in order to look at the applications. Do you think that's worthwhile?
Yeah, I think they're going to have to devote time somewhere between February 15th and March 15th, right? 30 days after these things are submitted.
Well, I'm open to suggestions as to how to select the this Phoenix area professional artist. In the past, staff of different cities have asked professional artists who live in the community to serve on a selection panel. They haven't really advertised people to serve on an artist selection panel. So I'm open to suggestions as to how to select this person. I mean, I can suggest to you all some public artists who are not applying for the project, but are a professional artist to serve on this panel. If you all know people in this community who are qualified based on the definition of an artist that you would recommend, then I would say just start sending names to Larry, and then you all can go over some of those names and then decide if there's an artist who meets these qualifications that you'd like to have on the panel.
And then we could send them invitation to sit. Like
Because
that.
advertising, I'm not sure I'm not sure what kind of response you're gonna get from an
Right.
advertisement.
Could be crickets, and then we're back to square one.
Yeah,
Yeah. I know of a professional person that I would recommend, an art professional from the greater Phoenix, what are they called? I can't remember her company now, her group. Phoenix.
and then there are a lot of teachers in the community college district, Maricopa County Community College District, who are artists as well as teachers.
True.
So that's another pool that would be a great draw.
But there's a qualifier there. We're looking not just for artists, we're looking for artists with public art experience.
Not necessarily for number 4. I mean, I think if it could be.
According to what we have here, it is. It says experience with public art projects.
It does.
And/or, it's a gallery
Gallery.
representation.
And/or, okay.
And/or,
Or
yeah.
record of exhibition.
Never mind.
So it could be any of those.
Yeah.
I guess as long as you wouldn't have a conflict with that person you're recommending, I think you just start giving us names.
Okay. I
You
know
don't
there's
think
some,
that'll create a conflict? I'm sorry. I didn't
If we know, I think we just have a pool of names. We'll know when they submit, or Diane may know that they don't do public art, so there won't be a conflict.
I'm just, again, I'm going to be the devil's advocate. Since we are always concerned about a conflict of interest, Gretchen recommends somebody who, say, is a friend of hers and says, hey, you'll get paid $250 for doing it, and then somebody will have an objection to that. Oh, I see her friend got picked to do it, and she's getting the $250.
Yeah.
That's what I'm just thinking ahead, because I've seen that happen.
And that, I mean, that's a great point, and I think that's why usually city staff reaches out to a local artist to do it.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, and Madam Nicholas, I'm impressed you remembered the orange sheet on conflict of interest. That's great.
Well, how many times have we been through it now?
yeah, it creates a bit of a quandary.
I can't remember the name of that company.
I mean, I think there's not a conflict of interest in compiling a list. It's more in the selection, right? So
Right.
if there is recommendations from the Public Arts Commission of people they would like considered, I think that in itself wouldn't necessarily be a conflict of interest. I think that's one way we could go about it, and then city staff would have qualifications and contacts for kind of goes back to the database that we were working on previously for the work plan. They'd have those contacts available to them to do a little bit of discerning research on and reach out and make some recommendations.
Maybe we would just invite those people to apply as opposed to putting it out there as a big advertisement.
Yeah, I think what you should do, if you have names, send me the names.
Okay.
Diane can reach out to the community college district, she can know artists who know artists, and we just compile a list. And then we pick somebody either at random or, because again, they may not be available.
Right.
If we had a list of 10 and we reach out to the first 3 and they don't want to do it, or they have whatever reason they don't want to do it. And then we just let Diane pick. That way none of you are involved in the picking.
That works for me.
All right. So I think the
Again,
action.
this is our first time doing it. When it comes time to do the roundabout, maybe we'll say, you know what, we ought to tweak this or do that or whatever.
The benefit of this being on a per-project basis is that we can grow from lessons learned. So,
Absolutely.
okay, so I think the order there is to, compile some references from the commission and send those in prior to, I guess we'll give a similar January 1st timetable if we can. And then if there's any additional questions prior to the January meeting, we can address those if needed. All right, the next item here, we talked about the public art professional, one staff member from the Parks and Recreation Department, or someone in the community who has been involved in the park system in general. I assume that staff member will be volunteered or voluntold from city staff. Okay. And then number 4, the local professional artist, which I think will give a similar criteria for, Phoenix area consideration, and should also be included in any compilation of recommendations or contacts provided by the commission. And then we'll have our 5-person panel ready to select starting in mid-February. Great. All right, well, thanks so much for putting together these materials. It's really come a long way, and it seems like from August until now, it's been a ton of progress. All right, moving down then to, well, do we have any other new business? I don't see any here.
Nope.
Okay. Director's report, call for future agenda items. Are there any call for future agenda items from the commission?
Do we have to put the January selection thing on there?
Yes, we'll put on there the selection of the Public Art Commission Artist Selection Panel panelist.
We got to come up with an acronym, a quick acronym for it.
Yes. When is that? That's the January 10th meeting. How, what did we say, how to select?
It would
Selection
be-
process.
Yeah, for the
committee.
for the number one, the item
Yeah.
1 on the selection panel process,
So it would
right?
say
So who would be
selection-
the
PAC
2
members.
members?
Selection of two
PAC members.
PAC members for the Dog Park Art Project
No.
Artist Selection Panel,
Correct. And
Yeah.
something like that. And then
Yeah.
you, again, whatever you decide. You can start with volunteers, you can start with however you want,
Okay.
so.
all right. We don't need a motion to add that, correct? That's just added.
It's on we'll add it for the agenda, we'll put it on for the future agenda.
All right. Any additional future agenda items for January's meeting? Okay, that will move on to selection of meeting dates, times, location, and purpose. Regular meeting at 5:30 PM on Monday, January 10th, 2022, in the City Council chambers, located at 300 East Superstition Boulevard, Apache Junction. Do we have a motion to approve that time and date?
I motion to approve the meeting Monday, January 10th, 2022.
I'll second that.
All right.
Okay, Chair Byes,
Yes.
Commissioner Danford,
Yes.
Commissioner Ham,
Yes.
Commissioner Klett,
Yes.
Vice Chair Nicholas,
Yes.
Commissioner Spurna.
Yes.
All right. Almost forgot where I was. With that, we'll go ahead and adjourn this meeting. It is 6:16. We'll call this meeting closed.